have Picacho Peak not too far away from where I live, and that's what it's named after. But I'll be using a different colorway. I'll be using this fabric as the focus fabric. This block will be for an online quilting group that I joined, and the quilter picked out this fabric, so I'll pick a couple of others to go with it. So let's get started. And here are the 3 fabrics I'll use to make the Picacho block today. Out of my print fabric, I've cut 4 3.5 by 6.5 inch rectangles. And out of the blue and the cream, I've cut each 6 of each color 3.5 by 3.5 inch squares. My first step is I will construct these units right here, 4 of them. 1, 2, 3, and 4. The technique I'm going to use today is called the folded corner technique. So you take one of your main fabric strips, take one of your 3 by 3 squares, place it on top like so, and then I'm going to stitch from here to here and then fold the corner up. So when it's finished, it'll look like this. So in order to do that, I'll draw a line in pencil from here to here, and that'll be my stitching line. I'll use my ruler. And there's my stitching line. And I do want to mention, I'm going to sew just a hair above my line, just about a thread's width. And that way it'll be easier and neater when I go to fold it up. And I'll repeat that on each of my 4 strips. I have all my lines drawn on my squares. I'll place them right sides together. My line is drawn on the wrong side, and I'll just place a little pin right there. And I have my square on top with the diagonal going from the lower left to the upper right. I have my 4 units pinned, placed next to my sewing machine. And again, we'll be flipping from here to here, so I will be sewing just a thread's width above this line. And not to confuse everything, but I am going to flip them around because I want to sew from the side. That way, if I try to sew from this corner, sometimes the corner gets sucked down into the bobbin area. So I'll flip them around, and I just want to keep in mind that I'll be sewing right along here, just on the other side of this line. Now I'll clip these units apart. Remove my pins. And what I'll do is fold the corner over like so, take it to the pressing area and give it a press. And I'll repeat that with each of the units. Now that the unit is pressed, I need to remove the excess layers on the back. And you can either use your scissors or your rotary cutter and your ruler. I'm going to go ahead and use my rotary cutter. I'll just line up my stitch line on the 1/4 inch line on my ruler. That looks good. That's what it now looks like, and that's what the back looks like. I'll repeat that for my other units. Here are the pieced units. So you can kind of get an idea how the block is going to look. Then I'll place my other 3.5 inch squares. So I'll sew each of these together. I've placed my cream and my blue 3.5 inch squares right sides together. I have 4 of the units. And now I'll sew each unit together with a 1/4 inch seam right down here. Press my units, set the stitch, press toward the dark fabric. I have my blue and my cream squares pieced. Now I'll go ahead and sew each of these 4 quadrants together. So this will flip over like so, and I'll sew down here, and I'll repeat that with each of these other corners. I have them all stacked next to my machine, and I always place my pin right where I want to begin sewing so I don't get confused. 1/4 inch seam right down here. Back to the design wall. I've placed my pieced units in their proper places. Now I'll attach these 2 and these 2. So I'll just flip it over, place my pin roughly just so I know where I want to sew, set it aside, do the same thing here. Both of my units are pressed. I'll simply flip one over on top of the other, right sides together. I'll go ahead and pin. I'll have to match up the center seam line. And you'll see I have fabric going one direction here and one direction here. So all I'll do is begin my pinning right there. And I'll nestle them up and give it a pin. And then I'll go through and I'll pin here and here and take it to the machine. I'll use my leader fabric because off camera my bobbin thread was acting up. So let's see if this helps. It's a little bit smoother. Keep it lined up. I'll give it the final press, my final seam. Set the seam. This was a really fun block to make. I just love the colors. I think it would make a stunning quilt. Thank you for watching, and I'll see you next time.